I don't know who the good guys are anymore, but I do know what the enemy is. It's the compromise of principles. You lose the war when you lose your principles, and the first principle is to look out for your comrades.
Cal Scarota.
Chapter 20. The gunship was the most beautiful craft Darman had ever seen. It came into view as he staggered through the line of bushes and into the newly plowed field. Its cockpit bubbles gleamed like a hollow of Cloud City, and its cannon turrets had the symmetry of the finest Naboo architecture. He even loved its rust and the dent in its wings.
"Look at that, Atin,"
he said.
"Sheer art. Atin?" "Yeah. Nearly there.
White trooper armor came running toward him with a Gran in a medic's uniform just behind them. Atin's weight lifted from his back, and he struggled to pull his arms free of the webbing. He followed the stretcher, trying to talk to the medic.
"Verpine projectile, right side of the chest,"
he said.
"Painkiller, 5 cc's of..."
"I can see," the Gran said. "Neat job, Private. Now get in that ship." When he looked around, troopers had taken Uthon from Etain, and she was walking toward the gunship, stopping to look over her shoulder every few steps. General Arligan Zay stepped down from the troop cabin and bowed his head very slightly in her direction. She slowed down and stopped to return it. It struck Darman as a remarkably formal greeting under the circumstances. Behind this tableau of Jedi etiquette was a scene from a nightmare, with medics working on both Atin and Uthon, removing armor, cutting garments, hooking up transfusion lines, and calling for more dressings. It was like watching two parallel worlds, each wholly oblivious to the other. Zay didn't look at Darman at all, but the ARC trooper who jumped down beside the general took off his helmet and simply stared at him in silence. Something black moved in the shadows of the ship, and then emerged slowly to sniff the air with a long, glossy snout. It was Valaquil. He had come home. Darman could hardly say that he recognized the Gurlanin, because this one looked indistinguishable from Jannart, but he could guess.
Private Atin is still collecting scars, I see,
Valaquil said.
and my consort is impatient and waiting for me. I have to go.
"Jannat?
Darman shrugged, embarrassed.
She's been an extraordinary help to us, sir. A sixth member of the squad, in fact."
I'm sure she will tell me all the details of what has made her so very excited for the past few days.
And then he was gone, loping across the field and into the bushes. Darman hoped the Republic wouldn't disappoint the Gurlanins. They'd served as well as any soldier.
"You've done remarkably well, Padawan,"
Zay said.
"especially without the guidance of a master. Quite exceptional, in fact. I think that this may hasten your progress toward your trials, as far as the Council is concerned, with the supervision of a master, of course."
Darman expected delight or embarrassment or something equally positive to soften Etain's expression. He knew she believed she was unfit to be a Jedi Knight or even a Padawan at times. He knew it was the one thing she lived for. But the elevation didn't appear to move her at all. She didn't even appear to hear what Zay had said.
Master, where are Niner and Fee?
Etain asked. Zay looked bemused.
Who?
Sorry, Master, the other 2 men from Omega Squad.
Darman felt the scrutiny of the Ark even more keenly now. He'd only seen Arks a couple of times before, and they came as close to scaring him as anyone supposedly on his side ever could. Zay shook his head.
"You're the first to make it here."
"They'll be here, sir,"
Darman said. He flicked open his helmet-to-helmet comlink. If the Ark was listening in, it was too bad.
Sarge, Fee, time to get a move on.
There was no sound at all in his ear, not even static. He switched to the alternate frequency, and still there was nothing.
Nina, Fee, are you receiving?
He checked the diagnostics mode of his HUD. His helmet was fully functional. He could see the crevasse on Geonosis again, standing behind the cooling, ticking E-web, trying to raise Taller, Vin, and Jay. He couldn't see the biometric data from their suits on his HUD.
No, not again. Not again, please.
Ma'am, I'm not getting any response.
What does that mean? He could hardly bear to say it.
Their helmets are offline. I don't think they made it.
They're dead?
Zay asked.
They're not dead,
Etain said firmly.
Ma'am, I can't raise them at all.
No, I don't care. They're alive. I know they are.
You have to go,
Zay said.
If you don't go now, you could be flying straight into a battle with the Trade Federation vessels. We've attracted a lot of attention.
The general turned back to the two medics working on Uthon.
Is she going to survive?
She's in a very bad way, sir. We need to move her.
Keep her alive any way you can. Prepare to lift off. Etain.
Master, there are 2 men still out there.
They're dead.
No, I can feel them. I know them, sir. I know where they are. They're not even hurt. We must wait for them.
We must also save Uthon and get you 2 out of here.
They've destroyed the virus. Isn't that what matters? You can't abandon them now.
Darman could see she was at the point where she would either collapse or do something extreme. Her face was drawn tight and her pupils were dilated. It was an expression that scared him. He'd seen it a few times in the last few days. The gunship's drives were throbbing now. Etain still had one boot on the platform and the other firmly on Kularan soil. Etain swallowed hard. Oh, Darman thought. Just bite your tongue, ma'am. Don't react. But he felt what she was feeling. All that sweat and terror and pain for nothing. All that when they could have bombed the facility and gone home. All that and Aten fighting for his life and Niner and Fee either dead or marooned here.
I will not leave without them,
Etain said.
I regret disobeying you, Master, but I must.
Zay registered visible annoyance.
You will do as I order, he said quietly. You're compromising the mission.
We need these men. They are not expendable.
We are all expendable.
Then, sir, I'm expendable too.
She lowered her head slightly, looking up at Zay, more challenging than coy.
An officer's duty is the welfare of her men.
I see that Master Fulia taught you little about obedience, but a great deal about sentimentality.
Darman dared to interrupt. He couldn't stand seeing Jedi Masters arguing. It was painfully embarrassing.
Look, I'll stay, ma'am,
he said.
Go with Aten. See he's okay.
Despite Skirata's frequent assurances that their lives had meaning, Darman had accepted the hierarchy of expendability. It was not only natural in the Grand Army, but also necessary and inevitable. His life was a more valuable defense asset than a clone trooper's. The Ark's life was more valuable than his. But the mirror that Etain's loyalty and care held up in front of him had made him see himself as a man. Yes, Niner and Fee deserved better. They all did. Zay ignored Darman.
You must go. More Separatist vessels are heading this way, and I know how this pains you, but...
Etain bounced off her back heel into the troop cabin in one move. For a moment, Darman thought she had changed her mind, but that wasn't Etain at all. She took out her lightsaber, and held the glowing shaft a handspan away from the power conduit running along the spine of the airframe. She could ground them with one move. Zay's jaw was set. Nobody else moved except for the Grand Medic working on Atin, who seemed oblivious to the drama, a quality Darman suspected was honed by working under fire.
Master,
Etain said.
either all of Omega Squad leaves Kilara, or nobody does.
This is a foolish act, Etain.
His tone was very calm.
You must see the necessity of this.
No, Master, I don't.
He's going to do some of that Jedi stuff on her, Darman thought. No, please. He couldn't see the Ark's expression, but he could guess it was one of astonishment.
Etain, this is precisely why you must resist attachment.
Oh, he doesn't know her at all, Darman thought. If only he'd... Her lightsaber was still ready to slice through the conduit.
As Jedi, we say we revere all life. Are we prepared to live that belief? Are these soldiers' lives worth any less than ours because we had them created? Because we can buy more of them if these are destroyed?
They are soldiers, Etain. Soldiers die.
No, Master. They're men, and they fought well, and they're my responsibility. And I would rather die than live with the knowledge that I abandoned them.
It was so silent that time seemed to have frozen. Zay and Etain were locked in a wordless argument. Then Zay shut his eyes.
I feel your certainty has roots in the Force,
he said. There was a sigh in his voice.
What's your name? Darman? So you have names, do you? Darman, go where she directs you. She values your lives more than she values becoming a Jedi Knight.
Etain made as if to follow him.
You stay, Mum, please.
No, she said. I won't leave you. Any of you.
She was holding her lightsaber as if she were part of it now, not like something she feared would bite her.
I realize this is gross disobedience, Master Zay, but I really don't think I'm ready to become a Jedi Knight yet.
You're completely right, Zay said calmly. And we do need these men.
Darman followed her, looking back for a second at the general. He looked as if he was smiling. Darman could have sworn he seemed almost proud.